Okay, so, hey everybody, it's me, Vince again. Today, we are going to cover how I make my stream layouts, specifically the call layout. I feel like this is something very valuable that a lot of people can use, and you can see I've customized the heck out of it. And this is something that's kind of interesting to me, because like, whenever I see people working with Discord overlay, you know, Streamkit overlay, they don't do much with it. They do the bare minimum with it. So, as you can see, my default profile pictures, these are just some alternate burner accounts that I use specifically for testing out my custom code. You can see that they're significantly different. And as you can see from my customizations, they are completely different, bigger, a different color of border, you know, all that. And yes, I turned my burner account profile pictures to that of Firelance and PH, if you ever watch Mangs at all.
Back from,
Tembo, stop telling the woman what to do.
So you're only really going to need two things. The first thing is OBS, and the other thing is a website called Discord Streamkit. Other than that, you're just going to need some basic CSS skills, which I'll definitely show you as we go along. And you can find the link right here on top. With that said, let's continue on. So this is going to be a little bit more off the cuff. And you'll see in the voice widget, this is where I have all my stuff. This is just my secret private server that I just use for archiving. So what we will look at right now is we're going to grab this link. And if you ever if you ever go to the link itself, you can see how it all looks at base. And what most people, I'm sure people are aware of it, but if you click F12 on your keyboard, you'll enter a sort of developer mode where you can look at everything. You can see all of these divs. These are just basically the boxes that contain all the stuff, all the list items, so our wonderful little callers over here. And you'll see it'll actually change depending on whether I'm speaking or whether I'm idle. Yeah, see, like that. And the nice thing you can do about when you go into the developer mode is that you can just mess with things. Watch this. We're actually gonna turn this to 100. Oh, right. We're gonna turn this to 100 px for pixels, and like that, and just like that, we can mess with the height. So yeah, you can actually mess with custom CSS, and when you refresh it, it'll just go back to normal. And that's about expected. So if everything goes back to normal, what does this mean for us? Well, I'm glad you asked. What we can do is use custom CSS on our browser source on OBS. You probably ignored this little text box that says custom CSS because, well, you probably didn't know much about CSS until showing up here. Now you can see a lot of things, a lot of different aspects, selectors, properties, and values for those properties. And with that said, I think it's time for a quick little crash course to explain what the heck you're looking at here. So you have yourself a selector, and it's usually formatted like this. And yeah, you'll usually see a set of selectors with their declaration properties and then their declaration values. So it's like declaration property, colon, declaration value, semicolon, and so on and so forth until you close it out with curly brackets. And your declarations must be put into the curly braces. Otherwise, you'll just get yourself a lot of problems. And effectively, everything you're seeing in CSS is just an entire series of these rules. If you want to see the entirety of these notes, I will provide a link in the description below. While I do find that it is nice to mess around with the default Streamlabs settings, I mostly prefer working with the custom CSS in mind because every time you have to copy things, you're going to have to reset everything, you know. It's also nice to make the link short when you strip out all the unnecessary fluff. And it's usually just better to customize it yourself. So we'll start by opening up a browser. And we'll just make a generic browser. And so it's just basically called streamkit.discord.com. Another thing I don't like about using the custom settings is that, oh man, these links are so absurdly large. It's nice that they provide these things to you, but you really only need a few things. You only need the website name, the name of the server ID, which I probably should be censoring out, and the name of the call ID, which I should also be censoring out. So we'll click OK on that so far. And there we go. We've set up the default template for Streamlabs. So now that we got all this basic stuff set up, we're going to go ahead and start adding things in. We're going to start messing with the CSS. So we'll start by plugging in these 3 sets of rules. They are basically empty, but I mostly do this for organizational purposes. Now, once we've copy and pasted all those in there, we can get to the actual fun part, starting with the rule set on the avatar idle state. And we'll just start from the top. Height 92px. And now our profile pics are taller. Alright, let's add width 92px, see what happens. And there you have it, we got a larger profile picture. So now that we have a couple of examples, I'm now going to go rapid fire where I plug in my selectors, my declaration properties, and my declaration values. Until you see the finalized product. Border radius 0%, important. Border top color and border left color. That gave us a border on the top and left side. Note the exclamation point important tag because that gives it priority when I set up the rest of the border. Border width black and border width 2px. Now I'm going to add border width and color to the speaking state. You might not notice it immediately, but the profile picture's borders will turn blue whenever someone's talking. For this next one, I'm going to show you how to remove the names. Now, there are 2 ways to do it. The first is just to do it normally, when the link gives you hide names equals true. And the second way is for the name box, is that you can set the display to none. And now we get to actually changing the profile pictures. Paragraph jump scare in 3, 2, 1, go! So, I'll give a brief rundown of everything you'll see right here. You type img to specify any image. Class equals voice avatar, this specifies voice avatar images. Next we have src for source. And in case you were wondering what the numbers mean, that is your Discord user ID. You can find that in your Discord settings under Advanced and Developer Mode. Click that on, and then you can right-click your user, and you can find Copy User ID right on the bottom. And then we have Content, URL. And in parentheses, you'll see this giant link for an entire GIF image. Now, unfortunately, it doesn't seem that you can cite local files, but you can reference any image within your Discord servers. As long as you're able to copy the link, you're good to go. Ignore the height and width of this CSS rule, as they're kind of just junk data from an old attempt. Instead, focus on the top and left border colors, which happens to be a darkened shade of orange. I've given this color to me specifically to signify the man in charge. The rule for the speaking image is more or less the same. You just have to specify speaking in the class selector, and then you gotta make sure the image you're using is a speaking animation. I also make adjustments to the borders to make the top and left sides a much brighter shade of orange. A shade of orange that I've used for myself for probably a decade at this point. The bottom and right sides are also a brighter color, but shaded in such a way that gives it a 3D-ish effect. Now the last thing we gotta do is take account of the other fine fellows in this chat. It's basically what you did before, just change out the IDs and the profile pic animations. For the heck of it, I'm just going to turn Firelance into Corin. And the last thing we gotta take care of is the juxtaposition, as our colors are a little bit skewed, and there are 2 ways to fix that easily. The first way to do it is just to simply adjust the height in the voice state OCOZH. As long as it's anything higher than the previous color, then you should be fine. And the second way to do it is to simply reduce the width of the browser source, which honestly you're probably gonna do anyway. And there you go, that's all the profile pictures, all neatly organized. Now we're going to make a separate browser source for the name. Now, theoretically, I could just make it on one browser element, but if there are situations where I just want it off, it's just easier to keep it as a separate element just so I can turn it on and off as I feel. So once again, I will go through a lightning round of everything you're seeing here, and take special note to some of the new declarations I haven't used yet. Starting from the top, we have a font family that is Return of Ganon. It gives me a pixelated little font here, and what I like about it is that it is thin and narrow, so that it could fit a lot more words horizontally. Up next, we have a margin top of 0px. This just basically removes the margin that was originally put in this browser element. We got a couple of declarations here that affect the spacing, and the font weight will basically affect the boldness of your font. Now you can see it's actually like really strong and bright, so a font weight of 200 will reduce what we have in comparison. For this one, we're basically just making sure that the profile pictures do not show up. That's why we have display as none, and as a backup, we're making the width and height to be 0 as well. And this last bit can be a bit of a doozy, but it'll get easier to explain as I go through the parts. For the voice name, we have the visibility as hidden, which sounds counterintuitive to what we're doing at first. What I'm gonna do now is focus on the data user IDs. So we'll set up our first data user ID for my ID, and then put a colon after, and then the content is going to be Lego Vince. What I have effectively done is replace the name that was already there with a custom name that you see on the CSS file. This is very useful if you have a user that has a nickname and you don't want to force them into changing it. We'll do the same thing for the alternate universe Vince and Vince number 3 for the Game Boy Color. And now at this point we can start adding a little more details in. Let's go to voice state, and then we're going to add colon after. And we're basically going to re-add a lot of details that we had already and effectively create something new entirely within the original rule. So we're going to have our background color to RGBA, 30, 33, 36, and 0.95 for the alpha channel, width to 200px, line height 16px, font size 28px, color, which is a pretty bright white with a little bit more blue, border top at 88px, and then our padding is going to be from the top 5px, on the left 8px, and on the right, 6px. This is going to affect the dimensions of the text box to an area that I prefer. And yeah, that's basically my vertical setup. I sort of realized that there's a lot you can do with custom CSS beyond just a custom call room. I'm going to end this video here, but if there's more you'd like me to talk about regarding the design work that I've customized, then yeah, I'd be more than willing to talk about it. Just send me a comment, tell me what you want me to talk about, and I'll probably talk about it soon. Anyway, I'm Vince, and I'll be out of your hair.